Hello, welcome to Truth Talk. I'm excited about today. We have our new time, Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Please share with everyone who's used to watching it Wednesdays at 6 p.m. that we have moved our time. And today we're going to talk about all things election, COVID-19, and Thanksgiving. So we're going to just go through the whole process of what is affecting your lives and my life today. And joining me today, we have Bill Kaufman. Bill, how are you doing?
Oh, doing great out here in sunny California. That's not too sunny today.
Great. And we also have Brandy Hunt. Brandy, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Oh, I am doing great. I will tell you what, we have a lot to talk about today. And one of the things I want to talk about is the importance that everyone's focused on the presidential election and who will be president-elect, but also the fact that the House has had so many seats turned over Republican from Democratic seats, and also the Democratic has also turned over 3 Republican seats. Bill, what is the impact of the House turning over Republican seats but still being Democratic?
Well, it won't probably be a big difference in that Nancy Pelosi will more than likely still be the speaker. They have to vote on that, but I don't see why the Democrats aren't going to keep her in there. And so I can't see any other reason. And so I'm certain she'll be the Speaker of the House again. That it is unusual when one party's president wins the election that they don't have coattails to pull in a lot of people from there into the House of Representatives. That's kind of normal. Generally speaking, at least historically speaking, it's the midterm elections where the opposing party picks up seats. That's the normal way, but there's nothing normal about 2020. We all know that. And so if Biden holds out all the the stuff, and I'm sure he will, if that happens, he's the president, he gets inaugurated after the electors and everything in the inauguration, then 2 years from now, there's no doubt that there's going to be people worried about it, because almost always in those 2 years, a lot of people go, oh, I want to change again, and they vote for the opposing people. That's true for Republicans or Democrats. That's just the way it seems to work. So but they're going to hold the House. Looks like the Republicans are going to hold the Senate, and looks like the Democrats are going to be in charge of the executive branch. That's what it looks like. And in my lifetime, the people I voted for have won about half of them, and people I voted for have lost about a half of them. So that's kind of the way it's probably going to be until I die.
So thank you for that explanation. I just think it's important for us to understand the other aspects of the election. But let me ask you this. We have until December 15th for them to certify who is president-elect. Do you think we're going to have that certification by December 15th?
If you're asking me, yes. I think when the electors vote, that's the final thing, and that's it. Once the electors give their imprimatur, I mean, you can still sue. Gore sued in 2000. He sued forever, and that can happen. That doesn't mean it's going to be overturned. And once the electors speak, it doesn't even really matter. I think that's the final word.
All right. Well, Brandy, what do you think? If there is no final word by December 15th, what do you think is going to happen to us in society?
I mean, I think we've displayed a huge, and I say we as just a culture of impatience all year. So I think it's just going to kind of continue to feed into that suspense that they keep trying to. It's like living in a reality show, Stay tuned for the next episode of what happens in the United States of America, So if they don't have the decision by the 15th, I'm even subject to believe that they'll say, they'll make a new law of some sort because of pandemic or because of such and such happening in 2020. We've decided to just move the inauguration. I don't put it past them to do anything. I just wake up and look at CNN and be like, okay, what we doing today?
So, who would
So,
like that the most, Brandy, is Nancy Pelosi, because she would be the kingmaker then, because it goes, if nobody is chosen, well, it's not chosen. If nobody gets 270 electoral votes, then at that point, it gets thrown into the House of Representatives, where she is the boss.
the decision
And
maker. Oh,
the Democrats hold a very small majority, but they do hold the majority. So Joe Biden they're going to all vote for Joe Biden, obviously, and the Republicans are going to all vote for Trump, probably. But if it doesn't happen, 270 doesn't occur, it goes into the House. It's that simple. And the House is controlled by Joe Biden's team, and they're going to vote for him. I mean, if anything else happens, I will be surprised. Although I've been wrong a lot, so don't put too much stock in me.
right.
All right, so you just mentioned something, Joe Biden's team. So I'm going to segue a little bit. There is, I read an article on it was just on MSNBC, I believe, and it said Biden's first staffers was picked, first staff appointments, 5 women, 4 people of color. Now, everybody is so excited about that statement. What's wrong with us? Am I the only one that feels like, who cares that they're female and that they're people of color? What do they stand for? Who are they? What politics are they going to start initiating? It's like we don't care anymore about the actual politics, legislation, the laws, anything that's going to affect us. All we care about is that women, people of color, anyone non-American, non-white, male, and wealthy, that's all we care about. Am I the only one that feels that way? Because it just really bothers me.
I'll go first.
Yes, go ahead, Brandon.
Well, I can speak to the reason why people are excited about it. I think I equate it to a man who's abusive and in a relationship. And all of a sudden, he starts bringing you flowers and roses. And now he's still hitting you a little bit on the side, but you were never getting flowers and roses before. And so I'll take the abuse, but at least you're giving me some kind of respect for me to balance the two. So that's what the people of color see. At least if you're going to berate me, at least give me some kind of say so in a power position. So, or in a position of power, excuse me. I think it definitely matters what their character is, but I think we believe that if we put Trump in office, who I can say this, I think I can say this, whose character isn't that of the other presidents. I'll say that. He's different. But the people who are being put in these positions, I believe, have been tried and tested and have proved somewhat to some degree that they can carry out whatever needs to be carried out, at least to some degree.
All right. But what
I'm thinking too is, like, I get that. The only subculture I'm in, really, that I know of, is that I'm a Christian. And that is a subculture of our overall arching culture. Mm-hmm. And it's the only thing I'm really would be considered a subculture of. So I often pull for Christians. I do. I'm watching a sports team play, and I happen to know that one of the guys up there is a very vocal Christian. I find myself rooting for him. You know what? I don't even know the guy. He may be a hypocrite. He may be a scoundrel. I mean, I don't know. I just know that publicly he names the name of Christ, or he has something biblical on his, uniform. I still find myself pulling for him. So I kind of get it, and I understand that. I do think, though, that on a sports team, if I was the coach, I would still just look for the best players, regardless of anything else. And if I said, well, I'm going to only pick people of my subculture to be on my team, I think I would be hurting my team. And so I think we have to be careful with our political correctness, is all I'm saying. But if once again, we are living in the craziest time of my life, and I'm 58 years old, and I've never seen anything like this year. I don't blame him for doing it. I think it's probably a good political move. One of the things you said, Brandy, is Trump wasn't like anybody else, and that's true. I think one of the reasons he got 72 million votes, because that's the most votes, second most votes anybody's ever gotten, first being Joe Biden this time, But the second most votes ever by anybody ever is because I think a lot of people don't like politicians. They don't like people being smooth. They don't like people patting you on the back and telling you one thing and then doing another. I think the people that liked him, I'm just saying, I think they kind of liked his gruffness and the fact he'd look you in the eye and tell you, this is what I'm going to do. I don't care what you think. I see why you don't like that too. But my point is I think that now we're going to go back to, the guy that looks you in the eye and pats you on the back too. So, and by the way, that's normal politicians, Republican or Democrat. I'm not painting anybody other than a politician with that broad brush. And so we'll see. I mean, look, ultimately, we're going to go to Thanksgiving and talk about food. That's what I want, is us to all get along. That includes people that can't stand Donald Trump or people that can't stand Joe Biden. I don't care which one you are. I care that we're going to go have turkey together and maybe some stuffing and some mashed potatoes. That's what I care about.
You mentioned a lot of things there, Bill, and I think you're right. What matters isn't, we do vote our subcultures. We do. We vote the people that we want to see in office, that we can relate to, that we have the same faith and belief and values in politics. And I think for Biden to just come out and say, okay, 5 women and 4 people of color, it says something about us in America that we're tired of the same old, same old. We might not know underlying what these people, they don't even name them right up front. So it's like, we're just happy that they're anyone different, but different than politics, but the same as us. And that's what we're showing, is that we want something different in our politics. But I still think it says a lot that we don't care to know who they are. We don't care to know. Like Brandy said, we're sure that they got proven and tested and tried to make it to the appointment, but we don't know. We really don't know who they are. We haven't done our research, and we're happy just on their sex and race. Period.
Well, that's the political
I don't know
we're going through now. And by the way, not just in politics, it's across the board, everywhere. And I think that, I mean, if you haven't experienced it, I don't think you're living in the United States of America. So I don't blame him for doing it. I don't, but I also see your point, Melanie. And it's not just that, it's your team still, it's your side, because there's a lot of people of color and a lot of females that are very conservative people that when they get put in a position, they get, they try and destroy them from the other side. So it's not like, oh, we just care if it's a woman. No, they don't care about that, because remember Sarah Palin? I mean, that was not pretty. That was not a pretty thing.
Sarah Palin. That was an ugly picture of
regardless how you feel about her, they came after her with everything they had, So yes, I'm just saying that, but that's more my side. You're pulling for your team. I understand that. I kind of do the same thing. And like I said, the only subculture I am as a Christian, I find myself almost always pulling for I hear somebody's said something about the Lord, and I just wanted to make the kick, or I wanted to make the catch, or make the basket, or hit the ball. I just do. And I'm like, hey, there's that guy.
I think we're going to, as Christians, we're going to pray for who's ever in office, in any office in government for us, because they are our leaders. They are ahead, whether we voted for them or not. We still have to pray for them and support what they do and obey the laws of the land. So at the end of the day, that's the basis, right? Because it's too late now. The voting is over. So there's no need, like we talked last week, about going into who and what. Okay, this is what we have. Now we pray through and do what we need as a response. Talking about that and talking about eating Thanksgiving dinner. The new restrictions. I'm going to tell you what, COVID is on a rampage once again. I want us to look at this graphic. And it says here, look at this. So confirmed cases. Now this number here, the 55 million, that is across the world. The United States number is down here, which is the 11 million. All right. So across the world, there's 55 million cases. Now, all we hear about, let me move that out of the way, is the fatalities, which is 1,331,895. But we have recovered cases of 35 million and some odd, and active cases of 18, right? So we don't look at, and not, listen, I'm not minimizing the millions that have lost their life, because I personally have been affected by the loss of life due to COVID. So I don't minimize that at all. But being put in perspective, we don't hear about the recovered cases. We don't hear about that. We don't hear about the numbers in each specific state. So what I want to do is I want to look at some numbers, right? And restrictions for Thanksgiving. Do you think we should cancel Thanksgiving? What's your thoughts? Do politicians have the right to tell you and I who can go into our own home and eat with us? Let's just start with that basic question.
Bill, you want me to go for it? Okay.
Yeah.
So we're just going to roll back to March of 2020 when they all told us all to go home and don't come out until we tell you to. So I guess they do have a right to tell us what they deem to be safe for us. So I guess if they put a law in place, then we would have to follow the law, because we saw what happened when we didn't, and everybody was like, the numbers were way higher before they quarantined and all of these types of things. You know, as far as beliefs, Thanksgiving, I think it's the same as any other holiday. It starts within, and we do what we can with the family that's inside of our home. I live by myself. So if they were to say Thanksgiving is canceled and you just can't go to your family's house, and it's only, we were going to gather, but it's going to be like less than 10 of us. Still, we were going to, be within the confines of the new rules. But, I guess, yeah, that puts a damper on me. I've already not really seen them all year. And now the two biggest holidays of the year, you're saying we still want you to stay apart from your family. I think it really takes an emotional toll on families, because you're already 6 months out, 8 months out. I think I saw my sister, who lives in the same city with me, in July, but she has a huge family. So if I go over, so, I tip in and out. I've seen my mother, but I go in and I go out, just like I go to the grocery store. So I think it takes an emotional toll on families who already all year been following all of your rules, up until we're supposed to be coming out of this thing now, according to the promises you gave us, and we're not. And so I think they, as far as rights, yeah, they told us, we had to quarantine, and the streets were shutting down at 6 o'clock. So if they go back that drastic for the holidays, I think it's going to cause an uproar.
All right. So let me ask you this before Bill answers this question, because I'm looking at numbers. I want to see, and I know that you guys do, we like to look at numbers and facts and see, okay, how is this really warranted right now to reclose America again? So as of 10 a.m. today, just for the United States, 11,279,504 cases. 5 million and some odd is active, and 5 million, almost 6 million, 5,982,664 is recovered, 250,000 deaths. So we're looking at 11 million cases. You only have 250,000 fatalities. Now, out of those fatalities, doesn't mean they died from COVID, they just died with COVID, right? So what are those statistics against all the other diseases? What about the flu? We're not keeping track of the flu, because all we're keeping track of really is COVID. I went to right. No one had all COVID. I went to the doctor's this morning, and it literally said if you sneezed, coughed, had a runny nose, you can't go in. You need to go to an ER for COVID. We have sneezed, coughed, and had runny noses all our lives. That's part of what we are. But now you can't even go to a regular doctor's office. You have to be considered a COVID patient if you sneeze and cough and have a runny nose. Now, again, I do believe that COVID is real. I know it is. but I also believe that the politicians are not wasting a crisis at the same time. And here's an example. Chicago. Have you guys heard about Chicago? Mayor Lori Lightfoot.
What
All right,
about,
so
I've heard of them, but not, I don't know what.
okay. So Chicago, here, yeah, let me show you this. Chicago Mayor Lightfoot said on Monday, it's effective Monday, issuing a stay-at-home advisory, asking all Chicagoans to only leave their home for essential needs, including work and school. Now she updated the advisory to, no turkey. It literally says cancel traditional Thanksgiving celebration. It literally says that, to avoid traveling. All of these things, right? That's the new thing for Chicago. But Chicago numbers says it's 586,000 cases. 575,000 are still active. No recovery numbers came up. You can't find the number of recoveries in Chicago, right? But the fatalities are 11,000. They're only up 47 fatalities. Again, that's a lot of numbers when you're looking at people dying, but big scheme of things, all right? Now, my problem with Mayor Lori Lightfoot is this. She also said no gathering from anyone outside your household. So if you don't live with me, you can't come to my house, no matter what. Curfew from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. Cancel Thanksgiving, no celebration, all right? You will be fined or your business will be shuttered. Now, I don't know what shuttered means. I don't know. Maybe it was a typo. This was from ABC News. But she does this after when Joe Biden was announced as probable president-elect, she went out to a crowd of masses of people. She did not have a mask on, and she used a bullhorn and was speaking, oh, celebrate, celebrate in the streets. And she was fine with it. She was in the masses. Now, the masses had masks on, but she did not. So my question is this. She was asked this. How do you take everyone's rights away in their home, but you are out using a bullhorn in a crowded mass area with no mask on? You know what her response was? There is an appropriate time for people to release all of their stresses. And that was an appropriate time. Now, with the mental health of America going downhill very fast, do you not think that celebrating Thanksgiving dinner with your loved ones is an appropriate time to safely, with masks and everything else in place, to safely breathe? Bill, what do you say to that?
Well, I actually think that a lot of politicians on both sides, once again, I'm painting politicians with a very broad brush though, are very hypocritical. They tell you to do something, they don't do it. And if you remember, that same mayor, when people were rioting and looting in Chicago, told the police department that you need to stand down in Chicago because these people need to have their voices heard, even though they were looting and rioting. Now, I totally believe in protest, but don't believe in looting and rioting. Then they went to her house. They went to her street, and she called in everybody. She even hired like private people to come in. They wanted the National Guard, everybody. And then she actually, when they said, isn't that a little hypocritical? You're fine with other people losing their homes and businesses, but not you. And she said, well, I think people have the right to feel safe in their homes, and that they were endangering my home. Look, I agree with her that people should feel safe in their homes, her included, but it's just the hypocritical position that so many people in charge take. I'm going to tell you what to do. I don't have to do it, but you do. Now, I will say for an advisory, I'm not sure that's a contradictory thing, what was said there in that, what you read from CNN, or was it CNN? Anyway, whoever wrote that.
ABC.
It's ABC. A advisory from a governor is not law. There's no statute, there's nothing. You can't fine people for it. You can't do any of that. If you can't do that, you have to have written statutes to fine anybody. So you can have municipal codes, you can have that. And if Chicago passed those municipal codes, then they can be enforced. But even in California, the governor gave advisories. There's nothing in my county that has a law saying a law, like a law. And so you can't, as a cop, I'm telling you, you can't enforce an advisory. Now, should you do it? Maybe. I mean, honestly, maybe you should do it, but you can't enforce an advisory. And if you call me as a cop and say, hey, this person, there's this helmet law of 18 and under that you have to wear on your bicycle in California. If you called me and said, hey, these kids are riding a bicycle and they don't have their helmet on in my neighborhood, which, by the way, people do that all the time. I don't understand. I'm just happy kids are riding bikes. But anyway, if the kid's over 18, I can't do anything except advise him that it's dangerous to ride without your helmet on. Nothing else I can do. And I've had people, well, you should ticket them. Well, they're over 18. I can't ticket them. Well, you should be able to. Whether I should or not has nothing to do with it. That's not the law. So I am not going to tell you to go meet with your family. I'm not going to tell you not to. I'm going to let you and your family make that decision. I don't know Chicago. I'm only talking California. The advisory that Newsom gave is not binding by law. So you can go if you want to. You don't have to go. He even said you got to quarantine 14 days before you come to the state. There's no law saying that. You don't have to do it. Maybe you should, but that's not an enforceable thing right now.
But isn't that the point? Is that it's good for the advice, for the wisdom. This is the precautions we think you should take. This is what we suggest you do. But where does it cross a line to where a lot of people, what you're saying now about advisories versus law and being enforceable or non-enforceable, people don't know that stuff. So when they get on the news and they read an article or hear someone doing a press conference and it says, cancel Thanksgiving dinner. If you are meeting in more groups of 10 people, then you can get fined or your business can get shut down. They believe that that's law. So right. In the minds of Americans,
it might be in Chicago. I don't want to speak for Chicago. It might be, but you have to pass those laws prior.
Right. That's what I'm saying. If it's not a law,
right.
The people, our mindset, we don't know the difference between an advisory and a law. A lot of people don't do research. All right. So when it's written, they say, oh, that's just the law. Why are we so willing to just, and maybe this is a question that is going to be problematic, but I want to know why we're so willing as a people to just have the government, whatever it is, whoever it is, Democrat or Republican, whatever, tell us what to do that really can infringe on our rights. And yes, of course, for the betterment of the health of other people, I understand that. But I don't understand the comparison. Let me tell you why. You have in Iowa, right? They have new restrictions in Iowa. This is from CBS News. All right. Face coverings, if you're in any indoor, even your own home, if you're inside more than 15 minutes with anyone that's not in your household. So if you have a guest over, say that Brandy comes over my house, she's going to be in my house more than 15 minutes. We have to wear a face covering in my home. All right. Now, this is from Governor Kim Reynolds. This restriction is November 17th to December 10th. What is going to happen for 2 weeks? But after that, hey, go ahead and spread the virus. See, this is where I'm thinking, why is there a time frame of 2 weeks? You can't meet with someone in your house for more than 15 minutes without a face covering. But after those 2 weeks, go for it. Does the virus have dates that it can infect you on and not infect you on later? Like, this is my problem. But also, the problem I have with her is this. There is 15 indoor people, 6 feet apart. You can only have 15 people indoor and 30 people outdoor. Now, that is for weddings and family gatherings and non-essential. But it does not affect business or government. So the government can have as many people as they want, but you and I cannot. One more example in Iowa. Youth and adult sports are suspended, but college and pro sports are not. There's the money, right? Money's talking on that one. This is my thing. If if they really believed this virus was as bad as it was communicable, would they have all these exceptions for the people of money and government? Because if I am a mayor or governor and I believe this is as infectious as it should be, I'm going to want everyone to be protected. I'm not going to say, hey, pro athletes in college, you guys can go ahead and play. But you know what? Minor leagues and regular people, you can't play. I don't understand that. I need someone to explain that to me. Because
Well,
I think what you
go ahead. In my opinion, and could be wrong, but I think that has a lot to do with money and politics. And as I've said over and over again on this show, and probably will until I die, my experience with people in politics is that they've got two different sets of rules. And one for them, you know, even, and I'm not putting down the Affordable Care Act here. This has nothing to do with it, but the Congress exempted themselves from having to do it. They said everybody else has to do it. They exempted themselves from it. That's normal for politicians to do. This is not an abnormal thing. And that's not Democrats. That's Republicans and Democrats. That's across the board. And that's what I see here. There's a bunch of money in college football. Oh my gosh, yes. It's unbelievable how much money there is in it. There's actually more in it than there is in the NFL because there's so many more teams. And let's be honest, politicians get a lot of PAC money from colleges and from stuff like that. And if that pro athlete's out there touting your side, you're definitely going to want him playing. So it's a hypocritical position that doesn't surprise me in any way. And I don't get mad at that because I expect it from humans. However, that being said, that's why I say you should make your own decisions, because one of the things that surprises the heck out of me, at least since the French Revolution, the American Revolution in the 1700s, young people have risen up every generation saying, we don't have enough freedom, we need more. That has been true the whole time until now. This is the first time I've ever seen people, older people, sometimes we're a little more cautious and we say, oh yeah, let's let somebody else make that decision or whatever. Young people don't seem to ever be like that. But for the first time ever, it seems like young people are screaming in the streets to you make the decisions for me. Tell me where to stand. Tell me what I can own. Tell me what I can't own. Tell me what I can eat. Tell me what I can't eat. Tell me who I can associate with. Tell me who I can't associate with. You tell me, and I demand that you do. This is weird. I mean, as far as history of mankind, because most young people are like, I want to do my own thing. I don't have to listen to you old people. And by the way, I was no different than that. And I expect young people to be like that. This is the first time that I think that I've seen an entire group of people say, you can have my freedom as long as you take care of me and make my decisions for me. I'll give you my freedoms. And the scariest part of that, and I don't know anything about the history or the future, I'm no prophet, but when the Antichrist comes, that's exactly what's going to happen. He's going to make people take a mark, and they're going to gladly do it so that they can have the whatever government's in charge then help them. Our ancestors wouldn't have done that. They were like, give me liberty or give me death, man. And now we're saying, well, give me safety and I'll give you my liberty.
Right.
Let me ask you this.
Weird. It's weird. Okay, I'll stop talking about that because I beat a dead horse.
No, but I want to go. No, I want to bounce off of that actually, because that change is so drastic. Like you said, there is no one crying out, I want freedom. I want this. We're all just kind of going along with the test. How much can we give up? How much are we willing to just follow the leader blindly? Like it's really happening. But since March, we're almost a year into this, right? 10 months, so much. It's 10, 11 months into this. We have had isolation like we have never seen before. Like Brandy said, she's seen her mom and her sister, a couple of times. You know, I wanted to go see family. Everybody's like, hey, no, COVID can't come. We're isolated into our own little houses and our household pretty much. We have censorship of freedom of speech. And and we can go into that if you want to, but there's so much censorship on what's being said, what's not being said. Algorithms are monitoring everything on social media. So, and then we have people, if you go out of the box and say something that the algorithms of social media gurus don't like the CEO of Twitter, Jack Dorsey, he just, reroutes you to what his truth is instead of the freedom of speech on that. We have control over our lives like we've never had before. Does that help make us not dumb, but just a dumbed down society to where our youth is saying, you know what, I tried to fight, because they did. In the beginning, there was an uproar of we want freedom, who are you to tell us? But it's been so long. Are we just getting so tired that we're becoming obedient?
Yeah,
Brandy?
I would say so. We're already a different kind of generation when it comes to sensitivity, and I'll say under 40. We wear our feelings on our sleeve. We want to be heard, but we don't want to really talk to you. So we want you to hear us, but we've already made the decision. So it's not like we want to communicate. I'm just telling you what they told me. And so, I'm on the upper end of the 40. I'm at 40, but my daughter generation and in between that 20-35, they want to be heard. They got a lot to say, but when it's time to return, they close their ears. And so very sensitive generation. You really can't say what you want to say. What Bill was saying, give me liberty or give me death. They want the liberty. They don't want the death. They don't want to fight till the death. It's like, well, they don't know that, because when we came along, when I came to raise my daughter, I jumped in front of all her bullets because I knew what it felt like to hurt, to work hard. So I took all the work hard, not all of it, because Melanie kind of helped me raise her. So I didn't take all of it, but some of it. I took some of that stress, and we took the stress off of our kids and went, dang, our parents are really hard on us. We shouldn't have been like that to our kids. And we sheltered them. And then they became grownups who don't know what it's like to fight for something until the death, if that's what has to happen. So that's what we're dealing with. So it's a matter of, I think people are tired. I'm tired. I can take that, but I'm a different kind of tired, not like tired, I want to give up. I'm just like, come on, can we move this thing along? Like, what's next? Not like I want to quit kind of tired, but then just life, period. Watching people grieve is a hard thing to do. Jobs have been lost. People have been lost. Relationships have been lost. This whole year has been a year of clarity, yes, but with that clarity came loss and grief. And you watching people who you thought love you speak ill about you, no matter what your race was. It could have been black on white or white on black. You watched the country tear apart. That makes one's soul weary. So I think people's souls are weary, and they're just like, come on, what can we do to make this work? Maybe they saw our ancestors fighting and they're like, okay, that didn't work. What else can we do? What is the real solution? Is there a real solution, or are we going to just keep fighting with no solution?
Well, I'm going to say their only solution ultimately is going to be Christ and his second coming on this earth. He said there was going to be wars and rumors of wars, and people were going to do terrible things. And don't let your heart be too troubled about it, because this is just the way it is due to the sinful nature of man. Okay, so this is what we experience. And it waxes and wanes. I think it does. I think sometimes societies are a little better than others, and then some are worse than others. I believe that. But as a collective, they kind of go up and down. I think that, Brandy, even though you're 18 years younger than me, 19 years younger than me, really, we had kids for so long that I have a kid same age as, younger than yours, and I have kids older too, because my wife and I just kept having kids. And so we have kids in their 30s and we have kids in their teens. So, yeah, well, that's how it's far spread out there. But watching that, there's no doubt that, I wouldn't go back and not put my kid in the car seat. I'd still do it if I had it to do over again. And I would still probably, you know, I don't know, be a lot more careful than my parents were. Even knowing what I know, I probably couldn't help myself. But that being said, I had a discussion the other day with a person that talked to me, my age person, and he said, you know, when we were kids, bullies were not accepted by parents, and they weren't accepted by teachers, but they kind of were like, nobody told on them. You punched the bully back yourself. You didn't go tell the teacher. Okay?
That is correct.
And or you got 2 or 3 of your friends to go punch the bully. I mean, that happened. You know, I mean, that's just
Right.
You dealt with stuff as a kid, when I was a child, that we tell children, don't deal with it. Do not deal with that yourself. You need to go to somebody. You need to wear a helmet for everything you do. You can't do something dangerous. Oh my gosh, what are you thinking? Now, my parents didn't like a lot of the dangerous things I did, and they told me not to. But so I'm not saying that it's like they said, go do dangerous things, but at the same time, I guarantee you, he's an older, we're raised to make the decision that might hurt me, so don't do it. Or if it, you know, you want to take the chance, it's going to be your fault if you get hurt. And that's not the case for our kids or our grandkids. For people my age, they're being raised to say, I'm not going to let you make that decision. That's too dangerous. I'm not going to let you ride that bicycle. Not going to let you do it.
Well, you know,
I'm of the opinion that my time was a little bit better on that.
I'm going to take it a step further.
I hope that I might have rambled a little bit there. I apologize.
No. I love the ramble. That's what we're here to have an open discussion. But I remember, you know, like you said, it wasn't about telling a parent, "Hey, I got laughed at or I got hit." It's if you come home and you didn't beat them first, don't tell me about it. You know, you go handle it yourself and then tell me about it. We were afraid to go home if we didn't throw the second punch. Now, we weren't allowed to throw the first, but you had to throw the second. So, you know, I grew up in a whole different way where it's like, you must defend yourself. And then you go tell someone that occurred so they were aware of it. But, you know, I was at an appointment yesterday and there was a person in the office and their daughter was on the computer and it was just so loud you can't help but hear. But the daughter was saying how she can't do her homework because the teacher didn't understand how to do it right on the computer because it was something she's used to doing live. And so she just negated the homework. And the parent's like, so you just don't have that assignment? And she's like, yep, we did. She canceled it because it was too difficult for the teacher to explain it to us. What is that teaching our children? You know, I said that we made this big transition from live school to, you know, computerized schools, but my kids did homeschool. They worked on computer for the last part of their high school years because they you know, I wasn't educated enough to teach them all the physics and all that stuff. So, you know, they did online schooling for the latter part. There was never something that the teacher couldn't figure out how to teach. Right. You know, it took work sometimes. I remember the teachers, you know, struggling how to make sure that everybody understood the lesson. But now the teachers, and I've heard it by other people too, other parents, the teachers are giving up on the kids. And they're saying, you know what, it's just too difficult. Don't worry about that lesson. It's just too, you know, we'll just, or the kids are saying, here's an example. It's a college student. And there's like 7 kids on the online course in that one classroom time slot. 5 don't do their work. The teacher just says, you know what, just give it another day, turn in whenever. Now, the assignment was it's due by this date, or you get 10 points taken off, or you fail, or whatever. But because the kids don't do it, or the young adults don't do it, the teachers are just saying, you know what, just turn in whenever you want without penalty. It's like the majority wins. So nobody do homework because then it won't be done and it won't be penalized. So we are changing society. The way the kids, and I don't know how the younger, your grandkids, Bill, my grandkids, I haven't even started on grandkids yet. Well, not me, but my children haven't. And there is, you know, what's society going to be like by time that occurs? You know, it's going to be feed me everything, feed me the rules, feed me what I do, feed me how I do it. And I believe the society is ushering that in. But like you said, that's what the Bible teaches us is going to happen anyway.
I think I'm seeing
Right.
it. I want to say this about my granddaughter. I just want to brag about her for a second because I'm proud. Proud papa. When she was a kindergartner, she got hurt at school, and her dad and mom are very country. Okay. And so they had her do that mutton busting thing at the rodeo. I'm not a cowboy, but we went to the rodeo and watched her ride the sheep, and so they ride the sheep that runs out there. Little kids do it. And whoever holds on the longest, yay, they're the winner. And these little kids get on and they ride the sheep running around. Well, she got hurt in kindergarten, and they took her to the nurse, and the nurse said, well, we got to, fix this cut up, and we got to call your mom. And she goes, I'm okay. I'm tough. I ride sheep.
That's adorable.
So the nurse, of course, tells my daughter that, and they call me immediately because I'm of the mindset that you got to toughen up, Buttercup. And I'm a soldier and a cop, man. I just believe in driving on. Now, my drill sergeant did not accept me having a bad day. Okay, no. Didn't get to take the day off because it was a bad day. And so she called me and said that line that I will never forget. It's okay. I'm tough. I ride sheep.
I hope we can all learn to be sheep riders, if that's what that means.
Right.
But, you're doing the right thing. I think that we are responsible, no matter what social media, what the school systems, the changes in society, the politics, what they're showing our youth and the younger generation is one thing. But what we, as the adults in their life, as the Christian people in their lives, and in all the circles that we impact, we don't just impact our family, we impact everyone. Even when we go to the store, how are we different than everyone else at that store? We have that responsibility before God to make it a positive one that says we do have the ability to speak up and stand up, and we do have the ability to make our own decisions and do our own thinking for ourselves, and then take that, digest it, and then see what we need to do. And I think we have to.
We're having a little bit of a rebellion against a lot of the governor's rules, at least where I live. What is it like in South Carolina, Brandy?
You were breaking up. I couldn't hear you.
I'm sorry. I said in California, at least where I live, there seems to be a lot of rebellion against what the governor is saying. I mean, I'm hearing it in the grocery store, wherever you go. Like, who does he think he is stuff? That's all I'm hearing.
Yeah.
What is it like in South Carolina?
That's usually what they say. He hasn't said anything lately as far as a shutdown, or everything's kind of just mellowed itself out. Not even for Thanksgiving, they haven't rolled anything out as far as major. We stuck to the national, which is under 10, which is in restaurants as well, under 10 people, quarantine if you go out of the state. But usually if he says something like when he originally rolled out early this year that we all had to be in the house by, I think it was 8:00, but it was what you said, not a law, it was a suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
That was bananas. So people were like, I gotta be home by 7. They're like, you ain't gotta be home by 7. He's a liar. That's just a suggestion. That's not a law. So yeah, a lot of rebellion when it comes to people who know the law versus people who just want to, try to follow the rules and not be put in jail or get their businesses closed. Because that's a huge, that's a huge threat for somebody to say, don't do this, or your whole livelihood is going to be shut down. So even if it's only a suggestion, but what if they make me what they said, the guinea pig, and I'm going to be the one they say, we're going to use her as an example. This wasn't just a suggestion. This was, very, punishable by law. So I think that's what people are really afraid of. You've already shut down our livelihood to a certain degree. They don't want to get it done any further.
Yeah. I mean, you don't know what they're actually to follow through with, and so no one's going to take the chance. They're just I know here in LA, no one's taking the chances that I know of. They're being extra precautious. They're saying, hey, if they say it, then We're not going to do it. If they say no families can go to another house for Thanksgiving, we're not doing it. Sorry, family, we're Thanksgiving on Zoom. And I'm just like, and what we're not doing is suggesting that anybody become a rebel,
Right.
against the government at all. What we are doing is saying, you know what, whether it's the election or COVID or Thanksgiving, be educated. Educate yourself to know
Yeah.
how far can the government go legally, and what are your rights legally, and then what is the danger of COVID for you and your household, and go that route. If you have an elderly person or someone that has sick or diabetes, those are very high risk for COVID, even though there's a 99% recovery, not for those with certain conditions. And so if you have those people in your home, yeah, you might not want to have anybody over for Thanksgiving. It just makes sense. But if you have all healthy 20-year-olds and a healthy mom who might be 40 and there's no illnesses, you might want to make another decision and say, hey, we'll risk it because we're all healthy without any
Right.
conditions. What I'm saying is know the law, know your rights, and know the facts. Know the facts. You got Florida, who has absolutely no statewide restrictions. They're not doing any worse than any other state that has all the statewide restrictions. So
Well, there's actually a train of thought by many medical people, although it's not politically correct, so you don't see it much. But if you read, you'll find it. It says that you actually will do better in a pandemic if you pretty much let everybody, this sounds terrible, but if you let all the weak people die off, and then the ones that survive are strong and they pass that on, and you have a stronger society now, and it kills off any of these things permanently, such as the swine flu or the Spanish flu or any of these things in the past. They went away, the bird flu, whatever, because the people that couldn't take it, yeah, it killed them. And that sounds so cold-hearted, I understand that. But there's a train of thought that says you're going to get through it faster with less problems if you confront it the way Florida is doing it than you are if you confront it the way New York did it. Now, I am a cop and I used to be a soldier. I know nothing. I am not an expert. I'm not telling you which one's right. I'm just saying that if you read, you'll find reasonable people on both sides of it. And there it is. I'll finish my little diatribe with what you said about bananas. And when you did, it made me smile because that's my oldest daughter's time with listening to No Doubt with Gwen Stefani when she was in No Doubt and they had the song. This stuff, I'm going to do the PG version. This stuff is bananas, bananas. And you know what? To this day, when I see crazy happening, and I see it a lot, I say, bananas. Now, I don't say it aloud because I'm not trying to offend anybody, but I sing that little bananas all the time. So, and when you said that earlier, Brandy, I smiled. I said, that's true. This stuff is bananas.
It is. It is.
Brandy, any last words before we wrap up our hour today?
Well, the scripture comes to mind. I wish that you prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prospers. And I think that's what God wants us to focus on, is something healthy. Whatever that means for you and your family, your own self. If you know that you feel great, but you have an aunt who's, I have an aunt who's high risk. When I go over, we make sure we social distance. She's the one that wants to have, but she's the one that wants to have Thanksgiving. But she's high risk. And so, we've committed to wash all the walls down and Lysol, so we're willing to take the precaution. But I guess in her mind, she said, I'd rather see you and be able to love you in that moment than to not see you and die and have never and hadn't seen you. So you allow people to make the decision. Don't make it for them. If your family is like, I have one friend, she's like, yeah, don't come see me. We can talk on Zoom. So respect people's boundaries in this season and understand that it's not you. Your soul is going to prosper regardless. It says, even as your soul prospers. So that means that my soul is prospering. So I'm just in control of my body right now, making sure that I do the right thing, stay mentally sound, Do something that's fun for you. So if you do have to stay at home, I didn't eat out last year because I had surgery for Thanksgiving. And so I didn't get to see my family last Thanksgiving. And so it might be another Thanksgiving without them. But I'd rather have 2 Thanksgivings without them and be home and safe than for them to be planning my funeral because I decided to go congregate where I should have been at home. So do what's best for you. And remember just to be in good health, even as your soul prospers.
Well, Brandy, I love that scripture, and I'm not going to top it today because I think that's what it is. And while we focused on the politics and COVID and everything today on the show, please, like Brandy and Bill says, go out this week, be positive, be encouraging, be loving, and focus on the things God has for you to do in your life. Take the precautions you need to make sure you and your loved ones, and even the people that you don't know, but you will encounter, are safe. And thank you for joining us at our new time. Please chat. Let us know if you like this new time frame or not, or what you would like to do to see on the show. And if you would like to be a guest on Truth Talk, join Brandy and Bill and I. By all means, message me on Instagram or Facebook, and you can find more information at www.truthtohear.org about Truth to Hear Ministries and Truth Talk. Thank you so much. Have a great week.
Bye.